Hey, Daniel Kemack, welcome to the Preconstruction Podcast.
Hey, how are you doing?
Very
Appreciate being
well.
on here.
No worries. Thanks for making the time. It is a Saturday morning, so we do appreciate you taking the weekend to make an appearance.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Good man. Yeah, so for those in the audience that don't know you, Daniel, give us a quick overview of where you're at in the US and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, so I currently am living in Orlando, Florida. I grew up in Melbourne, which is just about an hour away on the east coast of Florida here. And I went to school at USCF, got my civil engineering degree, but now I'm working in construction, doing estimating for Wharton-Smith construction. And yeah, it's been quite the journey so far. I'm really happy where I'm at. Um, And when you had talked about the this podcast, I was interested to jump on and give some insight to the new folks coming into the industry.
Good man. Yeah, that's we've interviewed. If you've caught up on most of the episodes at the moment, we've interviewed quite a lot of VPs, directors, owners, presidents. So I was really keen to get a young, up and coming pre-construction engineer on board, just to give his insight into the market. But first, before we do that, let's go all the way back to your education. You moved and you moved to Orlando for your civil engineering degree. Why civil engineering, and was construction always on your radar, or was it part of your family history? What was the thinking behind that?
No, I didn't decide to do construction until the end of my degree there, but I picked civil engineering initially just because I was always like a hands-on guy, would take things apart, wanted to see how they worked and put them back together. So that just kind of seemed like the most straightforward option at the time. And then as I got into it, because there's different branches of civil engineering, so I figured I would decide where I wanted to head. But again, I ended up going down the construction route, which they coincided with each other, so it wasn't a major change, but it was just something that was more fitting for me.
Good, good, yeah. Because I've been speaking with senior people, senior pre-construction and estimating people about the types of degrees on offer in the US. Did you have an opportunity to do construction management, or what, or even go down the mechanical side, electrical side? Why civil, do you think?
It was just a broad cloud of engineering. I wasn't really interested in mechanical or electrical. Uh, Building infrastructure is a huge thing, and in this day and age, so I thought that was a good route to take that would be successful in the long run. Of course, you have to put your time and effort into it.
Yeah, of course, like everything in life. Was
Yeah.
there any particular type part of the degree that you liked more so than others? To give you an idea, I did electrical engineering for my degree back in 2006, and there definitely was parts of it that I really enjoyed, but then other parts I just could never see myself doing.
Yeah. So we actually have to take some wastewater classes for environmental engineering. Um, I enjoyed those the most. I kind of wish that I had did environmental engineering, but it is what it is. I just enjoyed it while it lasted, and yeah, that was probably my favorite part out of the civil engineering track.
Very good. Yeah. There's always that one thing that stands out. So you finished the degree. I think you did a couple of interns at as a roadway designer, and also at GEC. Talk us through those.
So my first internship was working in geotech engineering. I was just like a CAD designer kind of thing, just helped out with the soil borings and putting the proposals together. I did do a lot of um, field work during the summers with them, so I was out there doing boring holes with the brig and hand augers and stuff like that. Um, and then going forward, I did do some roadway designing, which was strictly just being in the office on your computer and just working on microstation, and it it brought a lot of insight as just to how different the branches of engineering are. Um, and then my last one was a construction uh, internship, which kind of turned the page for me, and that's what got me into construction.
Good, good. And what was it that kind of caught your eye, or got you interested in construction, that maybe civil didn't have?
I just felt like it was more oriented between being in the office and going out in the field. I wanted to have that proper balance between the two because I'm not one to design behind a computer for 40 hours a week. Um, so that was really that was the primary thing. And not that in engineering you don't do that. I'm just more of a people person too, and I like working in teams, things of that nature. So it was just seemed more intriguing, and it seemed like something that I could be more involved with.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about the pre-construction. I think there's a misconception there that it's very, very maths focused, and you've got to have the maths brain to put costs together and put quantities together. But the other side of it, the soft skills and the interpersonal skills and the communication skills, it is becoming more important, if not crucial, to becoming a good pre-construction estimator, pre-construction manager, and climbing the ladder. And it sounds from the time I've known you, it sounds as if you've got those soft skills, and maybe you could leverage that in your career.
Yeah, I would say it's crucial if you want to become a construction estimator because anytime that you do have the opportunity to go out in the field, whether it's before construction, in the middle of construction, or it's post construction, you can see how everything's kind of constructed, and then you put you know a name to the face kind of deal with when you see it in person and you're looking on the drawings. It starts to make sense because some people are visual learners, and when they look at drawings, they don't quite understand. So over time, as you get opportunities to go in the field and see the projects that you might be working on, it gives you more insight and, in essence, makes you a better estimator because you can then visualize what you're looking at on paper.
Yeah, and I think that's another kind of thing that's really important to the people considering whether they're just before college or in college right now and considering a career. Because within pre-construction, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it, on like the life cycle of a project, how much would you visit site and get a good feel for what's happening on site? Or because I think there's a misconception that you're just sitting in the office, you just bang out looking at drawings, but that's not the case, is it?
No, not at all. And it kind of depends. It might be a special project that we'll go out and kind of do like a field trip. We'll make a field trip out of it, and like if there's a new school that's being built and it's a tilt panel building, we might go out there and watch them lift up the tilt panels and kind of put all that together because it's kind of fascinating. You will make the estimate and put all that effort into it, but you're not really sure how it happens. So seeing it kind of just gives you more perspective. It's like, okay, definitely don't forget that crane to lift those tilt panels, or just something simple like that. It gives you more perspective for sure.
Yeah, and I think it allows you to visualize the next project a lot easier. It
Oh,
gives yeah,
100%, 100%.
yeah. And so give us an idea now, types of projects you're working on at the moment with Wharton-Smith. What size of projects? Are you across a diverse range?
Uh, yeah, for the most part, I was working on a bus fueling station for a new high school that was built. Um, I'm actually working on the elementary school that I went to as a kid. They're doing some
Oh, wow.
renovation, so I did that project. I did like a training building for a water wastewater plant. Our wastewater division had the whole plant, and then the commercial side, bid on the training building. So nothing super crazy expensive as far as project cost, but definitely a variety
Great.
of projects.
Yeah, that's important. And again, your love for wastewater and water. Maybe one day you'll jump over to the dark side, would you?
Yeah.
From the commercial Wharton-Smith to the wastewater.
Uh, I don't know. Probably not because it wouldn't be the same. It's not like you're designing water wastewater plants. From my knowledge, maybe they do.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're comfortable now in the commercial side. And give us
Yeah.
an idea as well, Daniel, because I know that you're a Florida native, but you did move to Orlando. How was that move? And give us a little feel for Orlando, because we do relocate. Orlando is one of our hot spots, and we do relocate a lot of people from around the US to Orlando. Give us a feel for what it's like, what it's got to offer, and what you like about it.
Sure. I mean, the move to Orlando from Melbourne wasn't that bad at all. I mean, I kind of grew up going back and forth from Melbourne to Orlando. So it's just like another drive. My buddy and I, we just had a small U-Haul and packed what little stuff we had and just moved up here. But as you know, Orlando's got all the theme parks, so that's really the main attraction. I myself, growing up on the beach, I'm an hour away, but it's not that far to get to the beach because that's just like my own personal oasis. Um, I mean, golf is pretty evident in this day and age, especially with all the guys at work. We'll go play golf on the weekends.
Nice.
I'm a big hockey guy, so we actually do have a couple ice rinks, and as you know, we have some NHL teams in the nearby area. There's a lot of recreational parks and a lot of community involvement with just sports in general. So that's always intriguing too. There's options out there. It's not like
Yeah.
there isn't. It's not like there isn't much out there.
Cool, cool. And I think I know you're an avid hockey fan, but you're pretty handy at it as well, I believe.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I've only been at it for 5 or 6 years, but it keeps me in shape.
Good man. I hope you can hear. I hope you can hear my son and daughter, 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, running around next door. So if you hear the noise in the background, that's who it is.
Okay, no worries.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, Daniel, the one thing that I really like about your level at the moment, although you've only been you graduated, let me just check. You've only been in the industry since 2017, sorry. Um, you've experienced quite a lot with the AutoCAD, the civil side, and the ground up side. Is there any advice that you would give to maybe an intern at the moment or somebody studying civil engineering? Any advice that you would give them to kind of challenge themselves or to get the best out of themselves?
Yeah, I would say just to really put yourself out there. I know it's a lot of people are lenient or nervous to put themselves out there in the industry or with internships and such, but it definitely helps you out in the long run. You meet more people, you meet new people. You have new connections. It gives you perspective. It's all about perspective. I keep saying that. You get that from the different internships that you do. It kind of helps you guide yourself onto what you do really want to focus on if you're not sure, because you could do that same internship or the same couple internships your whole college career, and then you graduate and you're still unsure. So I highly recommend getting out there and trying different internships, and that's the whole purpose of it too. You don't have to stay landlocked at one company. Just because they pay you a decent hourly wage or something.
Yeah.
Um, but along with that, when you go through college, there's more than just the book smart portion. All the material that you learn, that you come through, that you take out of it. I always talk about with one of the interns at work. He always asks me why I'm always so. He's like, "You're always so relaxed when you have all these projects going on. It's like you don't seem like you stress out that much." And I just tell him because I was like, "Yeah, well, when I was in college and we had 4 exams in one week or all these projects, and I was really freaking out. It's like I take that scenario and I apply it to my day job, and you just be relaxed. It's like I've already been through it, so now I understand how to work through it and not freak out, because then you kind of lose your performance and this and
Yeah.
that."
I like that piece of advice. I think there's certain people that can do that, are quite mellow anyway. And to be honest with you, you seem quite mellow and quite calm and collected. But it's great advice that if anybody is worrying about the exams or about, like, let's be honest, whenever hopefully COVID moves on, there's going to be
Hmm.
a tsunami of projects landing on your desk, and there's going to be people looking for bids left, right, and center. So it's great advice to be able to just remain calm, do your best at everything. Maybe prioritize one project over the other, or one topic. But that's good advice. And then the other thing is, and one thing that you've done, looking at and speaking to you, you've kind of upskilled yourself during this downtime, whether it be on LinkedIn Learning or reading books or watching stuff online. I mean, there's so much free stuff online. Is there anything that you would recommend someone catch up on, or is there any one thing that you think it's definitely worth doing?
Yeah, with LinkedIn Learning, I don't know as far as like estimating softwares like PlanSwift. I don't think there's any material like that, but just Microsoft softwares like Excel, anything that you would use in the construction industry, there is a plethora of videos that you could watch and just update yourself. Again, we talked earlier about it. I watched this 4-hour video about Excel, and I knew most of it, but I learned so much in the first 10 minutes of the video that it's you can't put a price on it, and it's really helpful, especially if you do have downtime, and not even just software related. I watched a video on time management, and I watched a video on just like body language in the office and how to react during certain situations. Just kind of just gives you more material to prepare yourself to be a better version of yourself in the future.
Brilliant. Yeah, great advice. If you get a chance, I'm releasing one next week. Daniel's, yours are probably 2 weeks time. I'm trying to keep kind of 2 week in front of myself. There's a guy, Martin Walsh, who he was a young engineer from a very good university in Ireland who came to the US and he's been here 22 years. But he openly admits that when he arrived in the US, he was very raw. He couldn't go into a meeting with an architect, an owner, and a GC. He was just very bullish and brash. And he said he developed those soft skills constantly throughout his career by challenging himself. And he's now, you'll notice it on the video, he's really well-rounded. So that's people, I don't think people put enough emphasis, especially on, as you say, the body language or the soft skills of any job, but more importantly, estimating.
hmm Yeah, I mean, just even communication within your team. It's just how are you presenting yourself to them, and then if it's a certain way that maybe that you could adjust on, and then you go over to like an owner meeting like you're talking about. It's just you might not notice what you're doing at first if you even if you don't think it's wrong, and it couldn't be. It might not be something crucial, but again, those simple things, just how you deliver your words or how you react to someone, or do you keep interrupting them? It's those are things that are important to look for or think about if you do watch something like that, and you can kind of adjust that as you go and just refine yourself.
Good, good. And tell us how important is obviously in bid day if you're presenting with a client. How important is that, especially to winning the project? Obviously, at that stage you'll have worked on the project for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Um, Understanding the project and the way you deliver it. How important is it in actually getting the work? Do you think?
Well, it's super important, of course. I think some of the negotiated work is that whole presentation is done initially. If we're doing like a hard bid job and it comes to the due date, that portion actually is pretty simple. You just because you have your sealed bid, you might sit in there in the room with the owner's rep and maybe the other competitors, and they'll just unseal it, they'll open it, they'll look at the price, they'll kind of jot it down, and who the respective low bidder at the time might be awarded the project. um, but in that the whole presentation that you give them, there's bid requirements, the whole 9 yards, how you set up your whole proposal. If it's off by one little detail, you might be disqualified. So and we have personnel that do that. It's not like it's all on the estimator. It's a team effort. So we all work together to make sure that that's in mint condition
Brilliant.
for the owner.
Brilliant, good. And is it, what do you like better? Do you like the negotiated work, the hard bid, the same at risk? Or does the competitive age of Daniel Kemack come out and say, I love a hard bid and I love the victory dance or the,
Yeah, I've done a lot of CMAR and I've done hard bids. That was all I really did was hard bids at my first estimating company that I worked for. Um, but yeah, I don't think I've lost a hard bid yet that I wasn't supposed to. So I know I don't want to jinx it, but
no, that's what I was going to
I have
say.
a pretty good track record with those.
Very good. And what is it? Why do you think that is? Is it because you like because negotiated risk list or same at risk and negotiated is slightly different? Do you think that the hard bid, your competitive background and your track record, is that because you know that you're up against 3 or 4 of your competitors and you just want to taste victory?
Of course, yeah, you're you're on the line to get the proper price, and it's just exhilarating, really. You're pressed for time. You're trying to get everything together, and they actually we do a little different here at Wharton-Smith from the last company. I'm not actually used to it, where you would get your sub numbers and submit your bid on the same day.
Okay.
Maybe that's just how it's supposed to be done. I guess I'm not used to that, but nevertheless, it is fun. You're like, oh, how do we do? How do we do? You're always curious. But I do enjoy it. And I mean, the CMAR portion is fun because you go through the iterations of, schematic design, development, and then, your 100% drawings. It's intriguing for sure because you have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb to see what changes are between the different sets of drawings. So that has its own parts that are intriguing.
Brilliant. Very good. Listen, we all know the pre-construction and estimating. It's a stressful role. It's a difficult position. What is the most difficult? If you could pinpoint one thing that you would like to see change or that stresses you out, what is the most difficult part of your job?
Well, we're actually in the process of taking our PlanSwift takeoff software and how we do things in Excel, with our templates, our estimate templates and our guidelines. We're working on like a guideline for estimating. And again, that involves working in your estimate and how you do your takeoff in PlanSwift, because you've got your senior guys, you've got your mid-level guys, and then there's guys like me who are upcoming. And what me and one of my coworkers and I at the moment, we're putting together this guideline to kind of keep everyone on the same page. This guy does it this way and he likes it, and then this guy does it this way and he loves it, and he's been doing it for years. But we're trying to make it mainstream and just do a certain way. That way, there's not any gimmicks, not any mishaps when you're, because if someone does an estimate and then you have to hand it off to the next guy, you have to spend time just trying to see where they're at and what they mean by what they say. So with this guideline, again, that'll hopefully eliminate that and just keep everything flowing nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. And how nice would that be when you bring a guy underneath you or the next guy into the company? You can just hand them the procedures and the policies and how you do the standards, and then they can be up to speed much quicker.
Right. Yeah. And the whole purpose of it is to give it to an intern or, someone new in general, and they could go through it, hopefully know how to do it. And then they can work on their estimate and have it open at the same time and follow along and then execute without any issues. So that is the goal for sure. And I do look forward to when we finish that. We've actually been pretty busy. So it's work on work, try to work on the guidelines, work on work, try to work on the guidelines.
Very good. Yeah, it's nonstop, and and I know it's kind of a touchy subject, but it would be not good to dismiss COVID-19. Obviously, you guys have been in the office doing your social distancing. How are you finding it, and what do you see coming out of this pandemic?
Well, we're just kind of held to a little bit higher standard. Just be responsible outside of work. Don't go anywhere or don't go into large crowds of people, kind of thing. So I've been maintaining my distance outside of work, and at work, again, we do our social distancing, and I have my own cube, so I don't really leave my cube too often. But I mean, we're flowing. We're still working hard. I put in a lot of hours last week, which I actually enjoyed doing. I was working on this project for the city, one of their
Nice.
public works facilities. So it's actually a lot of fun. That one's a CMAR.
Brilliant.
But I mean, as far as work goes, everything seems pretty normal. All the owners, their projects are still going on, so we're still working. It's obviously after when you leave work and you go home, and we're home for the weekend, and it's like, what do we do? Let's just start a bunch of little projects and we'll make the day out of it at the house, kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's tough at home. It's tough, and thank God. I mean, this week I mentioned it on the podcast with Brian Myers, the BIM guru out of St. Louis. And we said, listen, it looks as if we're coming out of this. Restrictions are being lifted. Construction projects are being given the go-ahead across the US. So fingers crossed, this will look a lot better in two or 3 weeks, because how nice. And have the golf courses opened in Orlando yet?
They've been open the whole time, as far as I'm concerned.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're flying then. What do you play off?
What do I play off of?
Yeah, handicap.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I probably should. I try not to keep score. That way, I can still stay in the game.
Very good. Okay. Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you very much. This will be really helpful for the junior people in the industry and the people looking to get in there. It's a good perspective because, as I said, we have got a lot of VPs, directors, presidents on the podcast so far. So this will be refreshing to the younger listeners, especially the people going into college, in college at the minute, or maybe in their intern. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.